Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Filecoin Core Devs number 71. Today is Thursday, 6th, I believe. Yeah, 6th June 2024. Where I am on the East Coast, it's 12:03 p.m. UTC 1600 UTC. We have an interesting agenda today, but if there is anything anyone wants to flag, feel free to raise a hand, maybe at the end of the call, or just to interject when the speakers are presenting. We have non-interactive pull rep updates. We also have updating Filecoin's value accrual mechanism and proof of data possession by Luca. Appears to be an interesting lineup. And without further ado, I will hand it over to Oren for the FIP 92 updates. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I will be giving a short update on non-interactive POREP and also a additional FIP, FIP 92, which is a addition to non-interactive POREP, which is caller-specified proving deadline for NI POREP. Maybe you can go to the next slide, Lucky. The FIP90 has been accepted and are targeting the NV23 timeline. But during the implementation of it, we found some amendments that was needed to be made. One of them was like there was a discrepancy in the sealed challenge earliest between the FIP and the implementation. We want to update that to 180 days from previous 30 days. And also during the implementation of non-interactive POREP, we saw that the batch option that was in the FIP doesn't make that much sense, and we can make the implementation of NI POREP a lot cleaner if we remove the batching option and only allowing for aggregation of NI POREP sectors. The reason for that is because NI POREP sectors aggregation makes sense already when you're onboarding two sectors to the network. So from a implementation point of view, in the built-in actors in the storage provider implementations, there are savings in making this easier. Then also to make sure that people still are able to onboard a single sector, when we remove the batch option, we also have to set the minimum of sectors that can be aggregated to 1 from previously 2. Then there has been like a discussion on how we want to like move forward with this. And since we also had like FIP 92, which is currently in draft, which is a caller-specified proving deadline for NI POREP. This is giving storage providers some of the flexibility that we try to deliver in FIP 70, where we allow storage providers to move partitions between deadlines to give them greater flexibility of when they are proving their storage. So there were the big issue with like FIP 92 is that it has also needs to be shipped in the same network upgrade as the NI POREP FIP for it to be feasible to implement. So it makes sense to like couple this. And since we also then had like a lot of amendments that we need to make with FIP 90, the decision for like moving this forward was to, if we can move to the next slide, Lucky. Is to have basically take FIP 92, which currently is in draft, and add FIP 90 with amendments in that and make FIP 92 supersede the NI POREP. So we have like a much cleaner and full spec like NI ProRep PR. So there is a PR up there that are currently getting reviews from FIP editors, and most of the feedback there has been addressed. Hopefully we can have this enter last call tomorrow. The changes are fairly minimal. So hopefully we can make this move forward and still target NV23. That's the update.
Thanks
for me.
Quick question. Just so that we are all clear. So what will enter last call will be like an upgraded FIP92, with all of these changes. It will be FIP92 entering last call now.
It will be FIP92 that is entering last call, yes. Which
okay.
Then also takes in like all the changes.
Yeah,
from FIP90.
Okay, thanks. Additional questions regarding this update? I have a comment, but I guess it's something we can also discuss separately when as we're continuously developing or improving how we ship upgrades. Maybe we can explore, I know Jennifer and I, we would have talked about this several times in the past, but we can explore core devs choosing from already implemented FIPS, right? So that we have FIPS, we have accepted FIPS, we have already implemented FIPS, and then when we're planning for an upgrade, we are choosing from already implemented FIPS, over above like the ones that are still maybe just about to enter last call or not yet implemented. I don't know, maybe that might unblock some of the difficulties we're facing when it comes to planning upgrades. But that's just an aside, not related to this conversation. Any other comments? No? Okay. AX, over to you.
Hey, thanks. Okay. Yes. So a big part of this discussion is reviving another discussion that kind of went silent for a while, and then sort of building on it, and specifically reviving it because of new because of new conditions that are happening. So if you can go to the next slide. So I'm building on this old discussion on explicit proof-is, which was started by North, and also Kuba has done some work with this. And the idea here is that so in a sensible cryptoeconomy, like so our protocol is selling a service, and protocol revenue should be tied to the service that we are providing, such that when demand increases for that service that we provide, protocol revenue increases, right? And this is kind of broken in Filecoin because our method of collecting revenue based on demand is less direct. So this is what this was about. So the idea is what we sell as a protocol, what we sell to users is storage proofs, right? So we sell storage that and this is powered by the proofs, but we don't charge for proofs. The thing that we charge for is like, I'm sorry. Okay. So currently we charge like via proxy of this. So the idea is that these proofs consume gas, and we charge for gas usage only, right? So the only kind of way that we collect revenue is through like the 1559 mechanism. If you go to the next slide. And this mechanism makes sense for Ethereum, like 1559, because that's what they sell, right? So the protocol that their product is block space for execution or data storage, whatever. Yeah, so when there's more demand for, so that's the product that they're selling, and they are good at that. So we are not competing on that with them on block space, right? And when there's a lot of demand for block space, then they collect a lot of revenue, right? And this is kind of this ultrasound narrative they've had for a while, that Ethereum is now deflationary. Well, yeah, that's because they have a revenue collection mechanism that is tied to the product they sell, and there's demand for the product. And so they didn't used to have this, right? So they at the beginning they were selling block space, but they didn't have a mechanism to for this increase in demand to lead to value accrual to the network. So it didn't lead to deflation before, right? And now they have this mechanism where when there is increased demand for this product they sell, this means value accrues to the network. Next slide. Right, so more generally, right, when we start designing like cryptoeconomics of something, we think of like here are the sources and the sinks for your token of your economy, right? And basically, so with your sources, you want to so these are the places where you issue new tokens to incentivize what you want to happen, right? So you want to incentivize SPs to do this and that, right? And these are costs that the network incurs in the form of inflation, right? And then the things are like when we absorb tokens, and these are kind of reward the network in the form of deflation, and this should be tied to like when things are going good, right? So this deflation should pick up when the product that we're selling, there's a lot of demand for it, and people start paying for it, and that should translate into value accrual to Filecoin, right? In the form of deflation, perhaps. Next slide. Right, so I guess I already mentioned this. So the way we charge for this is like, okay, well, we don't charge for the product we sell, but they consume gas, and we charge for gas. And then there's so there's also this other narrative that, okay, so Filecoin is the utility token for Filecoin, that if there's demand to make real data deals on Filecoin, then people will buy Field to pay for those deals. But the point is, they don't have to. They don't really have to. Like that's a nice an optimistic ideal, but there's not. So if people want to come make deals, they don't have to pay for them in Filecoin, in Field. Next. Right. So yeah. So here in this plot, like there's a couple of interesting things. So this way of charging, like tied to gas usage, kind of makes sense when the gas usage of a proof doesn't really change. But there are a few changes over time that have like we optimize some proof to be more gas efficient here and there, and like this. So any upgrade we made on how we account for gas usage of proofs like completely shifts the revenue economics. And you can see like sometimes in this graph where kind of the distribution of gas usage shifts around, and that change kind of changes. And importantly, so in later times we see like blocks getting emptier, and so if consistently we don't hit the target block size, kind of all this revenue will quickly drop to zero, right? And that's if you go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is kind of how our protocol revenue is recently looking at, and basically it's it's just penalty fees. That's what we're seeing. And I mean, it makes sense for times like now, protocol revenue to be low, right? Because there's low onboarding, they're in a time of low demand. We expect to be having a rough time with revenue. But the idea I'm saying is like what we're working on, so like what we the main goal is for things to pick up, right? We want to fix things around and for demand to come back. but when demand does come back, it will not necessarily automatically mean like there will be more revenue, there will be value accrued to Filecoin. Next slide. Yeah. So when we optimize the gas usage for some kind of proof, when we introduce like batching and things like this that make proofs more efficient, like you start breaking this proxy of charging for proofs via gas usage. And particularly the reason I started this conversation again now is basically because so what Luca will talk about next, like we're in talks about introducing new kinds of proofs, especially for hot storage, and like this by design will break this the usefulness of gas usage as a proxy. So these are proofs that will be, they have to be computationally lighter, and they are supposed to bring higher value to users, right? So this idea that the value they provide is tied to the gas usage is further breakdown, so it makes less sense. Yeah, and then also we see like most deals that are happening, the bulk of deal payments is not happening in field actually. Yeah, so this onboarding fees, this is what I'm talking about, like proof fees of onboarding. Yeah, so exactly. Yeah, next. Yeah, so here's the proposal, like onboarding fees or proof fees, and in particular for this new, so if we introduce this new kind of proofs, like these are not subject to the same, like the same hypothesis as before doesn't apply, that yeah, they consume gas, so we're already paying for them, like it's a different object. And the point is, it's easier to attach a fee to a new proof that we're introducing than to take old proofs that exist and say, hey, we're putting new fees on these old proofs that you're already using, right? So it's a good time for, if these do come online, they should come with proof fees. And then the other kind of line here is like, are there ways we can incentivize deal payments to actually happen in field, right? So someone makes a deal that they pay for my data to be stored, they can pay in whatever, but so basically there's some ideas about this last statement in the parentheses is something people usually say, like in relation to criticizing Field Plus, like, yeah, real data is data that someone has paid real money to store. So the idea is, can we build some multiplier that basically doubles down on the amount of field payment for a deal, right? So you have this amount of field locked up in your deal, therefore we increase your block reward because someone was willing to lock up this field as deal payment there. Next, I think that's about it. Yeah, I got yeah. So this is one. I mean, yeah, it's uncomfortable to talk about adding fees at kind of bad times, right? So it's like, oh, everyone is suffering now. Is it the right time to introduce new fees? So that's why I think like maybe it's lower risk to, if we're introducing a new type of proof, like to bring that proof with a fee. So it's not the same as like, oh, now we're gonna attach new fees to prove that everyone was using already, right? So that's kind of the timing issue here. And yeah, and things like this incentive to have deals in field, like has to be optional. So it's not like oh, we're making people now do this thing they didn't have to do before, but of reward if they do this optional thing. That's about it.
Thank you so much, AX. I can see some conversations happening in the chat box, but I think they're just, random discussions on the topic. But do we have questions or additional inputs to share? Because we do have some time still for this. Additional insights or questions, no?
So on the original, I don't want to put Kuba on the spot, but he was like a bit driving the proof fees conversation before, and then that kind of fizzled out. So it would be Good. Give me a second. Give me a second.
Sorry, what was the question for me?
I think AX was talking about like the fact that you were doing the initial thinking regarding some of these ideas. So I don't know if you wanted to chip in.
My room
Okay,
was
AX is back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but like, yeah, nothing that in particular, but like, yeah, would be good to get your thoughts on like, yeah, what stopped the momentum last time, and if you think it can pick up again, especially the new kind of environment that I'm discussing.
So I think, okay, so there are, I think, two things here. Onboarding fees is not a very easy idea to accept generally. And I think we lost momentum last time because one, it was a new idea. It's somewhat of paradigm shift of how we do things. And it just required a lot of work of getting people to accept that. I still think that the work I've done in the past, just introducing the idea, was useful because it created landscape such that we can proceed it with it now, with more people knowing about it already. And my primary reason for pursuing it in the past was to one, guarantee income for Falcon Network in environment with widespread alters where we cannot rely fully on compute gas to be the only source of fees in Falcon Network, and two, to align users, developers, and token holders on common goal, which is longevity of Filecoin, because in my opinion, like the way we currently, the Falcon Network currently collects fees, creates misalignment in this incentive structure. So like I 100% think that like onboarding fees are a good approach to solving these issues.
Yeah, and I agree. Like it's a politically difficult thing to push because like no one likes new fees. But I think like, yeah, I guess that the more yeah, just the opportunistic thing here is like there's this like at least start with if we introduce this kind of proofs that Luca will talk about, like this is a good place to start, especially because this is a place where the usual revenue model doesn't apply. Right?
Great, thank you both. I'm hoping we can continue the conversations. I will pass this now to Luca.
Yeah, thanks. So as AX was saying, I will be talking about proof of data possession. This is one of the projects we are working on as Philo's team. And so I'm basically giving a brief presentation explaining what it is, why we do so, and how. So let's start with what it is. So we are aiming to introduce a new proof, which is completely independent from POREP and POST the way we know today. And the guarantee that we would get, and will be more clearer in a comparison with POREP in the next few slides, is with PDP, an SP is proving that he has access to data in the clear. And when I say data in the clear, I mean there would be no sealing process involved, and so the data would be in unsealed format. Next slide, please. So why do we do so, and why we want to introduce this in Filecoin, even if we already have a set of proofs that we have been using for 3 years now? So the first answer is today, the way we prove storage in Filecoin is by proving storage of encoded form of data. And this means that basically we do not really know if efficient retrieval is actually possible to be served when we prove Filecoin sectors. By proving something like PDP, where we actually prove access to data in the clear, we make a step forward towards efficient retrieval. Why? Because now we know that a clear version of some data is accessible from a storage provider, and so efficient retrieval is actually provably possible. Of course, it's not a guarantee of retrieval, but it's actually a guarantee that there is a way to serve efficient retrievability that does not need to pass through unsealing procedure. The second answer is we want to provide a low entry barrier for SPs. PDP, in our view, would introduce a new way of like entering the network, and it would be like a new interface which lives in parallel with the current miner actor. And as a consequence, we would have a diversification of storage primitives where basically storage provider can opt to go through current sectors, go through PDP, or go to both. And eventually, especially in future versions of the protocol, we envision the possibility of having new mining opportunities offered by Filecoin. So basically, you would have different way to participate in the Filecoin economy. Next slide, please. How are we moving towards proof of data possession? So what we are working on in this moment is an MVP, which we aim to ship by end of Q2 or July. We are in the protocol research and design step, which is actually finalized. We have been working hard on like different options and validating different intuition. The way we picked among all the alternatives that we had was to launch the MVP version of PDP with a PDP storage provider deployed as a user actor, which means like a Solidity contract. This first version would have basic functionalities like checking inclusion proofs for SHA-256 comps, which are the ones that we actually use these days in the protocol. And we would have a lightweight PDP SP software, which would be integrated with Boost and would basically take care of data onboarding and periodical proof submission. Next one. Milestone 2 would be mainly focused on incentive research. So the first version of the protocol, the MVP, will probably ship without native incentives in L1. This choice was made for multiple reasons. One is like designing incentives is a really delicate task, and we want to have like proper time and proper research iterations to do it in the right way. And we think that in terms of testing, we can go with the MVP without incentives for now. Of course, we will have like different iterations with Crypto Econ Lab and other stakeholders that we have already been discussing and brainstorming with, and we will also test with the community and iterate on like the way we want to design the SP contract. So in terms of like comparison with the current POREP, let's call the two SP potential SP, the PDP SP and the POREP SP. As you can see, we basically identified three different areas. One is like what's the target resource that we are envisioning. Like for PDP storage providers, what you want to get out of it is like fast write and read out storage. While for POREP SP, what we are actually targeting is like persistent storage. So basically consensus power that makes the network secure. This means that PDP would not give persistent storage guarantee, but will give data access guarantee to some extent. With respect to the storage pipeline, we will have PDP having lightweight computation and flexible sector size potentially with respect to the status quo, while in POREP, we know we have a relatively heavy computation step, which is the sealing process, and we actually have fixed sector size. In terms of incentives, we envision PDP to be subsidized mainly or on a significant fraction by paid deals, while POREP sectors would be aiming for getting block rewards in terms of like mining, Field Plus, and all these kind of things. Now, if you are wondering how you can follow the project and contribute and share your thoughts, there is a FIP discussion that you can reach by the QR code. We would be really happy to know your take on what I presented today and like your suggestions. You have public project docs that you can reach by the second QR code, and you also have a Slack channel where we are more than happy to discuss with anyone that is interested. Next one. So TLDR is if you are interested in prototyping the PDP SP contract and the PDP SP software, or your application or product can use and leverage PDP SP and you want to discuss the integration with us, or if you have some idea on incentives, you are more than welcome to come over the Field PDP channel and talk to us.
Great, thanks. I think there is one comment in the bot chat from AX. So PDP would not compete for right to write blocks. AX, do you want to speak about that?
Yeah, I mean, from that table that you say, because this one is persistent, so it's not like only POREP can be used to secure the network consensus.
So the thing is, storage resources Y, that's correct. And at the beginning, at least, we are not giving, let's say, block reward those power to PDP sectors. We are actually discussing with like ZX, Tom, and other people from Crypto Econ Lab whether we should introduce some sort of incentives that would give some sort of consensus power also to PDP sector. The tricky part here is that having PDP rather than POREP and not having persistent storage guarantees makes tricky to design fair incentives. So we need to basically be sure that like PDP is not competing too much incentive-wise with people like securing the network with storage. I don't know if this answers your question. I guess so, at least partially.
Yeah, I guess it was more like about the an SP gets two things by proving their power to a network. Like they get block reward and they get the right to write blocks, right? From which they may get some MEV or whatever, right?
Yeah, but basically in Filecoin you get the right to write blocks depending on the storage power that you basically have in the network, right?
Right. So if in the future we decide to give also some block reward to PDP,
yeah,
would we also? I wasn't sure if you're saying like even if we do that, we give some rewards, we still shouldn't give them the right to write blocks.
Yeah, I think that's one of the way. Like you give some sort of consensus power to PDP sectors, and then as a consequence you give the right to write blocks because you win blocks by this. But the design, the incentive design part is still something that we are not really focusing on these days.
I just wasn't sure if you're saying like because it's not persistent storage that it shouldn't be having consensus power, and it's okay.
No. What I'm saying is we are not shipping PDP in the MVP with consensus power attached.
Because they're also not getting any rewards. So it's just not connected to that part.
Yeah.
But if we connect it to the rewards, we can also connect it to the consensus power.
Yeah.
Okay. It sounded like you said like that was like that was not possible, but okay.
Yeah, I mean it was my fault, I guess.
Okay.
Great, thanks. Can you all hear me? I'm having strange problems with my computer. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anyway, thank you so much. Are there additional questions or comments on this? It's the last conversation we have, and we do have some time actually. I can't see my screen, so I don't know if there are comments in the chat box. Okay. Right. Okay. It appears that we have covered all of the items. Thank you all so much for joining. I will share all of the materials, including the links, references, and all the discussions, so that we can continue the conversation. Thank you all so much for joining, and I'll see you in July. Bye.